All right, you guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's show is going to be a very important show moving forward into the future, as many of the concerns that we had going back 3 or 4 or 5 years are now coming to pass under the Trump administration. Now, as Trump was signing these executive orders yesterday, he was asked about the drones, the night drones. And he looked over to his assistant, Susie, to look into it. And of course, he was already briefed on these drones in the transition meetings. This is part of it. When you go to a new president, there's a whole transition process. Everything is briefed. There's no way that they would leave Trump hanging on his first day in office. He already knew, but he pretended like he didn't know. And he asked Susie to look into it. Now, what you didn't know is that inaugurations are one event in which military drones are used. Now, in that instance, most people would say, okay, there's maybe a justification for that, maintaining, the integrity of democracy or whatever. But what you didn't know is that drones were all over this inauguration. Literally, drones, snipers, razor wire. Here it is right here around Donald Trump inauguration. So Trump is being insincere when he pretends to not know much about drones. The way that he's talking about them, he's pretending to know nothing about them. But yet they are a very central part of legislation he passed, the executive orders he passed in 2017, allowing for night drones, loosening up drone restrictions, and his ties to Palantir, which is, of course, is the drone company, essentially, along with many others. But they are the ones who are pushing and at the forefront of drone technology. Now, I wanted to see if drones were actually used in Biden's inauguration. And in fact, they were. Let's take a look, you guys. We're going to get into this. We're going to also get into fire and ice today, which is happening in the Gulf of Mexico, now renamed the Gulf of America, as ice has met fire in the Gulf. Strange world we're living in now, isn't it? I told you 2025 was going to be crazy, and here we are. Now let's get back to this drone thing, okay? Because, as I said, Biden also flew drones at the inauguration when he was president. But here's the problem. This drone surveillance, the use of military drones flying over American skies for security, goes beyond just inaugurations. And this is the shape of things to come. This will be Skynet. Right now, they're just one law away from tipping the scales on this. But now, as I'm reading about Biden's inauguration and the drones flying overhead, I found something that was troubling. That they actually also use these drones, these are weaponized drones, in the skies over American citizens during events that they call critical events. Let's read, you guys, because this is happening and has happened. It says here, let's start with this here. It says, with over 25,000, now this is Biden's presidency from 4 years ago. We're reading here. It says, with over 25,000 National Guard troops, thousands more active duty military personnel, and throngs of law enforcement from an alphabet soup agencies patrolling the nation's capital, the powers that be are also bound to apply their newest and most capable aerial assets to the mission, while the airspace around the national capital region, which encompasses the District of Columbia and various adjacent areas, will be almost completely sanitized of commercial and civilian traffic. A stack of surveillance assets, the likes of which may never have been seen before, will likely be orbiting overhead, sucking up all types of data and communicating with a bustling command post down below. This was Biden's inauguration. Do you think Palantir was not involved in this? Of course they were. Now let's keep reading here. With that said, here is an overview of what types of aircraft and intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance capabilities will likely be part of this massive and historic security undertaking. So this started with Biden and continued with Trump, with these drones flying over the inauguration. Let's keep reading here. We can start with the active military. Legally, there are significant restrictions on when and how elements, listen closely, of the U.S. military at the federal level can conduct any kind of operations domestically, including providing aerial ISR support to law enforcement agencies. They are just on the cusp of this, you guys. And I told you this was going to happen. I said they're going to bring this technology home, and it will be part of our policing apparatus. And it's already happened. Let's keep reading. The war zone has covered in detail in the past. There are also limitations in the circumstances under which elements of the U.S. intelligence community, including active and reserve components of the U.S. military that fly ISR aircraft, can target U.S. citizens directly. Something that presents additional legal hurdles. So they're having this debate right now. But they admit that they've already used it. Let's keep reading. ISR aircraft assigned to active duty units have been used domestically in the past, but most commonly as a part of a response to major natural disasters. For instance, the U.S. Air Force U-2 Dragon Lady spy plane and Global Hawk drones have been employed to track the spread of wildfires. So that's probably happening right now in Los Angeles. And it says also in the past, open skies surveillance planes collected visual imagery to help assess damage after Katrina and Rita. That being said, there are certainly examples of active duty U.S. military aerial ISR assets supporting the security posture around very high profile domestic events, which the U.S. government terms national security events, such as the Winter Olympics in Utah. They also in here talk about, let's keep reading here. That same year, they deployed another one. Suspects in the Beltway sniper shootings. You see? And they mention a couple of others here. Keeping an eye on things, employs contractors, domestic operations, border patrol. Remember I told you they were going to start using this stuff for Trump's new border policy? Of course they are going to be flying these things overhead, right? So now you know what's coming. We literally have military drones over our airspace. Weaponized. I'll put a link to this. I didn't want to spend too much time on this, but I promise to keep you guys up to date. San Diego is now on fire. Here's some images of the first fires breaking out in San Diego now. Now, they've gotten a hold on these. These are not anything compared to the fires in LA, but we are at the beginnings of something here in San Diego, quite possibly. Again, these fires have been they've put these under control according to the last reports, but this is insane. Let's get back into the Fire and Ice podcast. The rest of America is frozen while the West Coast is on fire. That's fire and ice. And if you haven't heard yet, there is a once in hundreds of year event that is happening in the South. Over a foot of snow in New Orleans Louisiana, and all across the South, and even Florida. This has not happened in most people's lifetimes. Now, why did I call the show Fire and Ice in the South? Well, the Gulf of Mexico water, if you didn't know this, is so warm that it prevents the conditions necessary for there to be snow along this coastline. But yet, here we are. And if you live in this area, if you're in Houston or New Orleans or anywhere along here or in northern Florida, please chime in the chat and let us know how many feet of snow you got so that people know that this is real. Fire and ice. Now we're going to get into the book of Enoch today because it also talks about fire and ice. We're also going to start redecoding the movie Midsommar, which interestingly enough also starts with fire and ice. Let's go into the chat, you guys, and see who of you lives in one of these areas down in the deep south that got a foot of snow. Let us know how much snow you got. Many of you watched Ryan Hall cover this. It's unbelievable. Heavy snow in South Georgia, done in North Georgia. 4 inches of snow in South Carolina. Yes, California is not supposed to burn in the winter. Fire inside the ice. Mississippi, 6 inches, 18 degrees in North Carolina right now. This has not happened in most people's lifetimes. So now you know what we were saying is real. Fire and ice is real. Now let's keep going here, because the book of Enoch actually talks about fire and ice. This is Enoch chapter 14. Now we're going to read this for about 5 or 10 minutes because this is very, very important. Because this could be a clue as to what's coming. We're going to start from the beginning, because this is where Enoch was approached by the Watchers. They were begging him to be the go-between to heaven, to plead their way back into heaven after they fell from heaven and ruined mankind. And this is where we get the first mentions of fire and ice. The book of the words of the righteous and of the reprimand of the eternal watchers, in accordance with the command of the Holy Great One. In that vision, I saw in my sleep what I will now say with a tongue of flesh and with the breath of my mouth, which the Great One has given to men to converse therewith and understand with the heart. He has created and given to man the power of understanding the word of wisdom. So hath he created me also, and given me the power of reprimanding the watchers, the children of heaven. I wrote out your petition, and in my vision it appeared thus, that your petition will not be granted unto you throughout all the days of eternity, and that judgment has been finally passed upon you. Your petition will not be granted unto you, and from henceforth you shall not ascend into heaven until all eternity, and in bonds of the earth the decree is gone forth to bind you for all the days of the world. Are you getting chills? I am, because what our president just said is that he will ascend above the heavens. He says he's going to Mars. And now you know why they are so fascinated with getting out of the firmament. Because they are the watchers. Let's keep reading. And previously you shall have seen the destruction of your beloved sons, and ye shall have no pleasure in them. So this is basically the judgment on the watchers. But they shall fall before you by the sword, and your petition on your behalf shall not be granted, nor yet on your own, even though you weep and pray and speak all the words contained in the writing which I have written. And the vision was shown to me thus. Behold, in the vision clouds, invited me, and a mist summoned me, and the course of the stars and the lightnings sped and hastened me, and the winds in the vision caused me to fly, and lifted me upward, and bore me into heaven. Now, what I'm going to read next is a description of what is essentially the waiting room, the first level of heaven. And I went in till I drew nigh to a wall, which is built of crystals. A wall which is built of crystals. Essentially, Enoch reached the ice wall and surrounded by tongues of fire. So there's some fire and ice there, but there's even more. And it began to affright me, and I went into the tongues of fire and drew nigh to a large house, which was built of crystals. And the walls of the house were like a tessellated floor made of crystals. And its groundwork was of crystal. And its ceiling was like the path of the stars and the lightnings. And between them were fiery cherubim, and their heaven was clear as water. A flaming fire surrounded the walls, and its portals blazed with fire. And I entered into that house, and it was hot as fire and cold as ice. I entered into that house, and it was hot as fire and cold as ice. I'll put a link to this. Some of you are reading this, you're like, whoa, I need to read Enoch. Yes, you do. This was the first portal out of the firmament that Enoch is talking about here. Now, again, this puts things in perspective, doesn't it? About quote unquote space travel. Because their main goal is to get out. It's rebellion. Because they were rejected from heaven. So they're going to, as the Bible says, try to elevate themselves above the Most High. They're going to do everything in their power to disobey God and get back to heaven. Wow. A portal to heaven, fire and ice. Now we must be in the end times, as these things of heaven are now manifesting around us as we speak. With the fire and ice Gulf, the fire and ice Los Angeles fires, and now San Diego fires. And what I'm going to show you next. Now, I had this movie Midsommar on my radar for about maybe a week, 2 weeks. Had it in my tabs. I'm like, why am I needing to watch this again? Didn't really like, well, the movie's troubling. So I was like, okay, God, are you telling me to watch this movie again? And apparently he was. Because in the opening scene is ice and fire. The winter solstice and the summer solstice. The movie actually begins with a gruesome suicide discovered in the dead of winter. And then it flash forwards to the midsummer. Let's take a look.
I mean, that's if we even go. I'm probably not gonna go, but
For when?
Mid-June to late July.
Yeah, 2 weeks from now.
yeah.
See what you mean about the pageantry.
Now, what are they doing? What's the plot of Midsommar? Well, it's a group of students that are going to observe the 24-hour sun up near the Arctic Circle in Sweden. Why? Because they want to do their thesis about basically what amounts to these communes or cults. And so they're there to investigate this cult. Fire and ice.
Yeah, we make those clothes special for every winter and summer solstice. Everybody sort of does everything together.
Yeah, and we'll actually be arriving on my birthday.
Now, this girl here becomes the focus of the plot of the film, as she is the one offered up for the final sacrifice. And the first thing that they do, and it's her birthday, of course, so that's summer, so she's the summer solstice sacrifice, right? Are you following me here? This is very important, you guys, because this is the shape of things to come. This is our reality now.
Oh, happy birthday. That's last year's May Queen.
Beautiful.
Perfect timing, by the way.
Now, they follow all of the witch's calendar observations. This cult, you just heard him mention the May Queen. Well, that's the highest day of Illuminati sacrifice, May 1st, the Maypole. We've decoded that. It's on the witch's calendar. This was when our country was founded in 1776, which was 888 years plus 888 years after Christ was born. 1776. And May 1st is also the founding date of the Illuminati. Are you awake yet? I hope you are. These are the people that run our country on the right and the left. We got to get back to basics here because a lot of people fell asleep. They thought Trump was an outsider. Trump's different. Look at all the truth channels who jumped on the Trump train. They forgot everything we learned. But now I'm here to tell you the truth because it's all happening now. So they fly in to Sweden, and just before entering the commune, they all do a dose of mushrooms, but they all have these super bad trips. Watch.
Perfect timing, by the way. We just took these 5 minutes ago. Haven't even started coming up yet. Oh, shit.
So they're all tripping, and moments after this scene, they start talking about tick-borne encephalitis. Now, I'll tell you the connection between the tick-borne encephalitis and the mushrooms in a minute. This is insane.
Do they have ticks in Sweden?
Sweden has a tick problem.
Yeah, both my grandparents died from ticks. Had to give them a closed casket funeral.
Last summer, a record number of people got tick-borne encephalitis.
Okay, Josh, I actually have an uncle with Lyme. And believe me, if you ask him, it was not worth the pleasant picnic in the park.
The two are connected, and I'm going to demonstrate that to you now. Now, this movie came out in 2019, just before the spam-demic. And a lot has come to light, hasn't it, since 2019. A lot has come to life, specifically related to tick-borne illnesses and, of course, the rise of fungus microdosing, which is now mainstream. This is why there's a fake truth community and a real truth community. The fake truth community is endorsing microdosing as a way to open the mind. Do you see how all this was foreshadowed in this film? Look at this. This is what the tick-borne illnesses were non-existent in the 80s all the way up to, this is specifically the country of Sweden. Look at the jump here after 2001. Look at the exponential growth of tick-borne illnesses. They went from maybe 100 cases a year to 600 cases a year in 2021. Why is there this huge jump after the spam-demic? What is this about? Well, it's all connected, and I'm going to demonstrate that to you. Because the fungus and the tick-borne illnesses happening in tandem is not an accident. These two phenomena are connected. You guys, we now have mainstream microdosing. We also have mainstream fungus genres in the zombie lore, in movies. All this tells me that this is man-made. It has to be. Now, we were able to get ahead of all this. In the year 2020, I was sitting in lockdown in Connecticut, and I watched a particular film. Or it was actually a TV series. And it was all about a mold that infects a building. And these are the first inklings that we had that there was something that was going to happen. We took note of the rise of the fungus and the mold before it blew up into what it is today, before the CDC announced a warning about the rise of Candida. Before all that, we were talking about this. And you guys were scratching your head like, Casey, what are you talking about? Well, now you know. You can go back on this channel. The videos are there. Now I'm going to take this a step further. Because we did also during this time, we did decodes on the hidden mycelial network in the fungus and the molds. The unseen connection that connects it to a central brain. And this is why part of this mushroom trip that this girl had involved the grass growing out of her hand. Because this is all about the connectivity to nature. Now, one part I did not put in here, they actually talk about that as they're acid tripping under the tree. He's like, we're all connected. We're all connected. And now you're starting to understand how the Smurfs fit into all this. Which, by the way, their original name was the Strumps. Magic creatures living in a mushroom kingdom, connected to nature. Now, most people have now come to the realization that the Smurfs, the whole Smurf lore and the genre, was essentially them on one giant psilocybin mushroom trip, is what people are now coming to understand, that that's what it was really about. Now, Casey, what are you talking about? Psilocybin mushrooms have nothing to do with Smurfs. Well, let me read to you this. Upon injury, psilocybin mushrooms instantly develop an intense blue color. They call this bluing. They literally turn into Smurfs. Still think this is all nonsense? Now, I've long since believed that the purpose of these tick-borne illnesses was to strip the nervous system in preparation to combine it with something else. It's a primer so that the body can receive a natural interface to the mycelial hive mind. And that's why both the mushrooms and the tick-borne illness were mentioned in tandem in the film. So what's happening here? And how does all this fit into fire and ice? Well, I'm going to go into the chat here. And for those of you who have had Lyme disease or currently have Lyme disease, you will be able to answer this question about fire and ice and how that relates to Lyme disease. As soon as my computer catches up, it feels like it wants to freeze. What is it about Lyme disease is all about fire and ice? Let's let this chat catch up and see who has the answer. I don't want to give it away. We're going to wait because one of you has Lyme disease. You're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. Good morning, everybody. Okay, nerve disease. Once you get over Lyme disease, it doesn't go away. Lyme is a parasite. Yes, T-Money. Burning and freezing pain. Fire and ice. And it's all about the nerve damage. And you notice that some of the side effects from the it were nerve damage. They are stripping our nervous systems with these weapons. Now, to make better sense of all this, let's get back into this Fire and Ice podcast. We're going to pick up where we left off, where Tom Hanks, he's in the movie Joe versus the Volcano. He sacrifices himself to the Tlaloc volcano. Remember, volcanoes are fire and ice as well. They're snow-capped volcanoes. Now, why did Joe, aka Tom Hanks, sacrifice himself to the volcano? So that his boss could mine superconducting material out of it. In other words, lithium. Let's take a look, you guys. Put a link to this as well for those of you that want to watch this. Let's fix this up here. This is Joe versus the Volcano from our podcast series here. Okay. Looks a lot like Easter Island, not Maui. But the other similarities that I just explained to you are uncanny. It's very, and they're both in the South Pacific, I guess you could say. Let's keep watching here.
Take me to the volcano!
So, Joe and Patricia then decide to sacrifice themselves together.
Who wants his flesh?
That almost looks like the mouth of Molech. That might be a bit of a stretch there. I'll admit when I'm stretching something. But they jump out. Now that's actually Tlaloc, and we didn't find this out later. This decode is from like a year or 2 years ago. So we're still learning about what all this was, but that's actually the face of Tlaloc, which is a variation on Molech. They're the same god, just different names. They're the gods that sacrifice in the fire of a volcano. Out kind of reminded me of the mouth of Molech. But a strange thing happens. Just as they jump, a jet of steam shoots out and it blasts them right back out of the volcano, and they land in the ocean unharmed. Watch.
I said, at least it's a miracle.
End the show with something that might drive it all home for those who are listening. Look at this. Black Rock City. Literally in the wake of this lithium mine. Here's the wash. And you could see you're at, what is this? Trying to look at the elevation. It's about a 2,000 foot elevation increase from Black Rock City up to Thatcher Pass, I think it was called. Now I'm drawing a blank, but it's just literally right up here, this dormant volcano. But I wanted to end, Thacker Pass. Let's type it in. Let's type it in so you guys can see with your own eyes the proximity of this. Black Rock City, Black Rock Desert, and Thacker Pass. Let's type it in. It's literally right there. This is the dormant volcano. See if we can see the caldera of this thing, just to tie all this in together, right? Thacker Pass. Okay, here it is here. You can see the edge or the rim of this volcano here, okay? You can clearly see there's an edge there, right? That's got to be the volcano. Now, let's look at that. This is just unbelievable. Full of lithium. And look at this. There is Burning Man. Let's go under the ground here and see if we can spin this around. See if I can figure this out here. And see if you can actually see the caldera of this volcano from Burning Man. That's what we want to do, right? See if I get this to work. Oh boy. I got to do it like that. So, they need to burn the man in order to build the AI. And that will be tomorrow's show. We are going to build our obsolescence. Trump has now commissioned a $500 billion project called Stargate, Artificial Intelligence. It's a giant supercomputer brain which needs lithium. And I'll do my best to break down the project, but it's not good. It's not good, you guys. It is the obsolescence of man. They call it a super intelligence, not just an artificial intelligence. And they say that this thing will literally it will pass all the Turing tests. You won't even know that it's not human. You will not even know that it's not human. This thing requires multiple nuclear power plants. Now, the day after that, I will finish up the rest of Midsommar, the film Midsommar. I'm going to screen the rest of that today and have that for day after tomorrow's show. Now I'm back in the chat. You guys, this is not good. It's not good. Now you understand the bipartisan, because Biden was working on this before Trump even got into office. He was working on the same thing. So we're going to talk about the ramifications of an artificial intelligence running everything, running law enforcement, running drones. Who can make war with the beast? Nobody, because it's all around you. And it has its own brain. It can outthink people. All right. All right. What do you guys want to talk about before we get off of here? Yes, doesn't make it good because God's allowing it. God allows things as judgment. You do not want to be on the wrong side of this. You don't want to be one of those people that says, oh, this is God's will, so I'm going to help build the beast system. Because that's the worship of the beast. Shall cause all to take the mark, and then many will worship the image of the beast. This is what it is, you guys. Just because a mouse knows that it's going to get eaten by a cat doesn't mean the mouse doesn't try to run away. That's faulty logic to just think that, oh, this is all God's will. Let's just go along for the ride. No, we're supposed to oppose this. In spirit, at least. Because we're getting to the point where there's not much we're going to be able to do. If AI is going to control everything now, which is what we're going to talk about tomorrow, you're going to start to very quickly understand the ramifications of all this. They're literally saying this thing has a real intelligence, a mind of its own. $500 billion. All right. Well, what else is going on, you guys? Oh, I got someone said Celeste Salome mention our channel. Thanks for that. I like her work. So thanks, Celeste, for mentioning the channel. Yes, we're supposed to be in this world, but not of it. Christ is clear. But people, they don't really read their Bibles, and they just go along with everything. Oh, God chose Trump. This is what I keep hearing. That is not what the Bible says. That is not what it says. God appoints rulers, but it's not always for a good reason. It's oftentimes judgment against his own people for worshiping false idols and false people. That is an incorrect assessment of the Bible to think we're just supposed to go along with this and just go along with it. You guys, most people I talk to think AI is cool. They don't even understand that it's the rise of the beast system. Many people are trying to invest in it. They're literally trying to make money off of the rise of AI. They want to be part of this. That's one step away from worshiping the image of the beast. Literally. So, we're here. Who would have thought 5 years ago when we were talking about all this stuff? Who would have thought? Well, you guys knew. You guys knew, didn't you? But most of the other people didn't. Yeah, again, I'm not promoting. Look, when I say, okay, I don't agree with every person's, all their views, all right? If there's some new age going on over there, obviously I don't condone that. I can't confirm if she is doing new age. I don't follow her channel. So, obviously I don't agree with that part of it. Yes, AI is ruining everything. Mixing real with fake. People don't even know what's real anymore. And that's intentional. That's chaos magic. And they do that. We've talked about this sometimes. We've talked about what that means. The reason why they've done that is to muddy the waters, to cover their tracks. There's no such thing as proof anymore. Because how do you know if it's real or not? Is that a real image? Is that real video? Oh, but the AI will use fakes to condemn you, because who's the authority of the AI? Who governs the AI? No one's really talking about that. So whoever governs the AI is the one that has all the power and control to make whatever reality they want to. Now, we all know how this ends. This isn't about fear, but so many people are deceived and they're going along right along with this, which will lead them to accept the mark and worship the image of the beast, right? So what are we doing here today? Why are we even talking about all this? So that people can be saved and not take the mark and not worship the image of the beast. That's why we're here, right? And to accept Christ. Without a show like this, most people don't even think there's a problem. They fully trust Trump. Oh, this is just going to make life easier. What is everybody going to do when Elon Musk's army of Optimus Prime robots are running all of the Amazon centers, which is a beast, right? Amazon is the beast. So everybody goes home. Now what are we going to do? Everyone's just going to sit around and watch TikTok all day? How are you going to make an income? There are no jobs left. Why isn't Trump talking about literally bringing the jobs back to America? Like real jobs. No more of this sending stuff overseas anymore. We're done with that. People need something to do, and they need to be paid a fair wage so that they can have some freedom and autonomy in their life. We don't need more automation, but yet that's where all this is headed. That's where all this is headed. So hopefully this video reached somebody today. Look, at this point, it's about objecting in spirit. We're already past the part where we could have done something, because literally, who can make war with the beast? I've talked till I'm blue in the face, turning into a Smurf. Because you literally go outside of our circles and people still worship Trump and they still think AI is cool and they want more of it. So the word's obviously not getting out. And then you follow these YouTube channels that say they're truth channels, but they're completely asleep too. Now, granted, some people are trying to raise the alarm bells about artificial intelligence, but are they really connecting this back to Trump, who is the ringleader? He is the first AI president now. He was the first vaccine president, and now he's the first AI president. This is going off the rails. This is going off the rails, you guys. I told someone the other day, called me right after the inauguration. What do you think? I go, I don't trust it. And immediately you get that. It's that reaction that people get. Even if they know there's something wrong. And I was like, whoa. So here we are. It's here, you guys. It's going to be a crazy 2025. So I'll see you guys tomorrow with this Stargate artificial intelligence supercomputer that is now being commissioned by Trump and is being built as we speak. We're going to talk about the ramifications of that, what that means for you as an American moving forward, as literally all of our law enforcement will now be automated. It'll be linked into the drones that are already overhead, and you won't even be able to wipe your butt without a report done and it being logged in the computer. All of our health data is going to be controlled by the artificial intelligence. We're going to cover all that tomorrow. We're literally going to be living in a police state run by an artificial intelligence. This is not the America I signed up for. And I don't trust any man to have any kind of control over something like this. So it's not personal against Trump. This is the New World Order happening in plain sight. All right, you guys, I will see you tomorrow. Much love. Take care. Be safe.